the recording is going. There we go. The recording is going, and thank you for those of you watching it live, and thank you for those of you who will watch it recorded. Obviously, if you have questions, we won't be able to answer those since this is a live format, but some of the people that are on this call, Alan Messimer, Nelson, will be able to help you. My name is John Rawls, and I worked in Taiwan for about 8 years, living over there, and back in the United States of America now, running a business as mission, which is called Kavanaugh Media. And I'll share just a little background about who we are and what we're doing and where we're working around the world, just some of the reasons why we do what we do. And then I want to share with you all today about a strategy that is being used around the world. And it is one that I am excited to see a coalition of people who are willing to follow up, to be a part of there in Taiwan. So a little background for those of you who may not know who my family is or how we got started doing what we do. We lived in Taiwan for about 8 years. Before we moved over there, I was a communication professor at a Bible college. I've been a pastor, I've been a campus minister, and then when in Taiwan, I was a team leader of a church planting team in Taipei, and then we were down in the Fengyuan and the Beitun area. We moved back to the States a little over 5 years ago, and I was the vice president of a mission organization. And then when one of my largest supporters got cancer, we ended up getting an opportunity to be a missions pastor at Southeast Christian Church, which is a church of about 25 to 30,000 people in Louisville, Kentucky. It was when I was there at Southeast Christian Church that I really began to dive even deeper into utilizing social media marketing to find seekers. And it was in the midst of that I got a cancer diagnosis. I have follicular lymphoma, which is a blood cancer. And it was really that turning point for me to decide to start Kavanaugh Media and to pursue this desire to see that everyone in the world has an opportunity to hear about Jesus. And so we left Southeast. We were paying for our own health insurance. I sold literally almost everything I own to pay our healthcare cost. It's not as cheap as it is there in Taiwan, but we made it so far. The type of cancer I have is not a curable type, so it will come back here at some point. And so it has put a fuel to a fire to use every possible mean every single day to help as many as possible to know about Jesus. And we have a couple different parts to the ministry that we do. One is a podcast. It's called the Christian Media Marketing Podcast. We have a little over 5,100 or so unique listeners to that. And then we also do live video training shows throughout the year. Our biggest area, though, that what we do is we help create the strategy, work in the media areas, and then run ads for a little over 200 different accounts in 83 different countries right now. We work with mission organizations from Pioneers, Team Expansion, the IMB, Frontiers, YWAM, 18 different mission organizations that we either have or we currently are working in. A big part of that is training. We spend a lot of time in the Media to Movement Coalition training teams how to be able to leverage media and technology to be able to do that. So for us, it is this belief that when Jesus said in his gospel there in Luke that the harvest is plentiful, I believe it's true. In fact, I believe it's true in Taiwan. I would say with extreme confidence at this point that I believe with all of my heart that 1% to 2% of the people of Taiwan will be open to the gospel if given enough opportunity. We have enough data at this point in so many other countries in the world to see that this is true. So unless for some reason Taiwan itself is just so unique and so different that the God Spirit isn't working there in the same way, that the good news is not the same good news there as it is in other places where people literally are losing their lives for the sake of the gospel, well, then I just trust Jesus. But I can tell you that there was a point in time when we were in Taipei where I was up in Taipei, Yiling Yi, looking out from Taipei 101 over the city, and I was crying because I don't know how you reach 6 million plus people. I don't know how you do that. You just can't reach 6 million by doing English classes or by doing a club or by doing any other great activities. Nothing wrong with them whatsoever. But the scale of the problem is so big that it requires a methodology and a strategy that can reach millions of people. And as I see those red lights in the windows and I see so many people without hope, it hurts. And I know it does for you as well, which is why you're there. Well, there is so many different things that we could do. But when I go back to when Jesus said that he is to make us fishers of people, of men, there were multiple types of fish when he made that statement. There's at least 3 different types of fish right there where he would call his disciples and say to them, I'm going to make you fishers of men. And there were also 3 different types, at least, of nets that people would use. There's trammel nets, casting nets, all sorts of different ones that people would use to catch the different types of fish. But I'm of the belief that, if you would excuse the pun, the greatest net that we have available is the internet, that we have a scope and a scale right now that is second only to the beginning of the church. At the beginning, when there was Koine Greek, there was the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, and the church went from just a handful of individuals who were convinced and willing to die for it, of individuals of the risen Christ. And you have, in the beginning of the church, 3,000 on that very first day. And it began within the first 100 to 200 years, in the absence of seminaries, in the absence of many trained professionals, in the absence of tools that we would think maybe are needed. They didn't have them. But they did have something. They had a conviction, and they had a climate where, in the fullness of time, Christ came and the gospel began to spread. And I think, except for that time, this is the greatest period of time to reach the world's population. And so I want to explain a little bit about how we do this, and I'm going to explain a little bit about what we do with Kavanaugh Media, and then also just give you some scope to what we're looking at here. We are working with some very large organizations and coalitions because the goal for us is that by 2 years from now, that we will have 1 out of 7 people in the world, 1 billion people, seeing gospel content on a regular basis. And that's our goal. And Taiwan is a big part of that. I am pushing very hard for some of these large media groups and these large financial people and contributors to view Taiwan as being strategic to that goal. And so we recognize where we are, and we recognize that we have an opportunity that itself may go away. So this is how it kind of works. In one sense, we use terms like a funnel, but in reality, a funnel is just man's attempt to describe something that's already happening. And so in this diagram that you see here, in the red is the use of media. It's using paid ads that help people go and see this content that then takes them to a website where they can read more, discover more, and begin to have a conversation. This private messaging and comments can lead to that online correspondence. And in that online correspondence, then, there are tools that are used to make sure that no one falls through the crack. That if a person wants to know who Jesus is, that we want to make sure that someone quickly can connect with them and help them discover who Jesus is, to walk by faith and to make disciples themselves. And that's where this follow-up coalition, this discipleship, these groups and these churches that are being formed and that are already there, all working together. To me, this is probably my greatest goal of my life, is not to use social media, but to see multiple mission organizations and churches and people all around the world work together. That is my biggest hope. That's the thing that I want to stand and kneel before Jesus when I meet him face to face and say, this is what I desire to see, is that we can be one and that we can work together in unity, that we can put our hands together to the plow to accomplish something that honestly none of us can do on our own. And so we start with Facebook ads because they are the quickest way to push content out in front of people. There's ways to target so that you can get the right content in front of the right people. Then about 6 months into it or so, we start to run Google ads, which are more of a pull strategy. As people are searching for things, asking questions, who is Jesus? How can I get a Bible? Whatever those questions might be, we want to make sure that all of those questions lead to somebody within a coalition who can answer those questions for them and to walk through them. The goal there then is that a local Taiwanese person is able to respond to them, and then they're followed up on, so that when that person is ready to meet with someone face to face, we have a person in that area to follow up on them. This is not a strategy where people just press a button and say they're following Jesus. We want to connect real people to real workers who can walk with them and disciple them. Now, I will tell you this, that this is not a magic bullet. This is not some sort of thing where we just run ads for a few months and spend a little bit of money, and then all of a sudden thousands of people are ready to become a Christian. If it was that easy, it would already be done. This is something that's going to require a period of time, an investment, a lot of grace, and a commitment to do whatever it takes. But when teams consistently are running ads, there's not a single country in the world, now over 83 of them, that we have not found that these mission teams have found more seekers using this methodology than any other method that they have done. So though it's not a magic bullet and it's not a quick thing, it is a very powerful tool. So what I believe with all of my heart is that if we are to see all of Taiwan have access to the gospel and a discipler who can help them come to faith, then we need to work together. We need partnership. We need partnership in finances, in giving, in media creation, in the marketing of this media, and then in the seeker follow-up and that church creation part of it. One of the things that people that work with me a lot hear me say is that we need to stay in our swim lanes. And so if we're to scale, we do not need every missionary or church team creating media content. And we definitely do not need a bunch of people learning how to use social media marketing when it literally is changing almost every week. The laws, the tools, the methods, the strategies are constantly changing. But what we do need is every worker to do what they went to the field to do, to make disciples of Jesus. That's why you've learned that hard language. That's why you live where you are. That's why even if you are a local person, that is where God has planted you. And so in our swim lanes, we have people that are media creators. We have marketing, but then we have those missionaries and those churches who will follow up with people and help lead them to Jesus. So the way this looks then, using another funnel to describe it, is that there's targeted marketing. So there's Facebook or Instagram ads, Google ads that run to certain people groups. And if there's a group in this coalition who is working with a certain age group or in a certain geographical location, we can run those ads where your target audience is. This is not just a blanket thing where we're just trying to put it out to everybody, but using tools that we have available, we can see when people have shown through their behavior that they're interested. And so then we put content that is relevant to them. After many times of seeing ads, what we're seeing is sometimes as many as 20 or more times, then a person will reach out. And maybe it's sending in a prayer request. Maybe it's making a comment on something that they've seen. But when they do that, then there is a paid online responder and a moderator who is that first point of contact with this seeker. They speak the local language, they engage with them, and they're praying for them. They're giving them resources. They're giving them hope. And when those people are ready to meet with someone or to talk with someone in their area, they get dispatched or passed on then to this on the ground follow-up coalition, which is a group of local missionaries and churches who are willing to meet with seekers face to face and begin that process of discipleship. So in one country, from one account, we are hoping that many who want to know Jesus will be able to be connected to other people. So in this process then, Kavanaugh Media, and the word Kavanaugh just means focused. It's also a logo that Chad Edwards made for me, and I've just wanted to use it continually, even once I got back here in the States. So with this, our company here, we use content from multiple media groups. I work closely every day with Jesus Film, with Lumo, with The Story, with the Global Gospel, and many other media companies. And we use that and we take portions of that, and then we run ads on social media platforms, which is where your follow-up people are located at. We find the seekers, we have the conversation. Each ad has a call to action, trying to engage that seeker with the content to do something. Maybe it's to watch another video. Maybe it's to send a private message or a prayer request. Maybe it's to download a Bible. Because interestingly, one of the things that we've noticed is just that fact right there. In countries where we have generational growth, where 4 generations of people, one person brings another person, who brings another person, who brings another person, this generational discipleship, we can say with confidence that many, many times it started with access to God's word. People just getting God's word, the Bible. And so there's always this call to do something there. And then hopefully they'll connect directly with someone on the online correspondence team. That team then identifies a person if they're seeking, they're vetting them and seeing if they're ready to meet face to face. Unfortunately, you'll get a lot of angry comments or rude things. And so they're vetting even that part. They're blocking the people who aren't interested so that we get better and better with our ad targeting, putting it only in front of people who have shown an interest there. But then when those people are ready to be passed off, that's where you could be a part of this coalition of the willing of people who will follow up with those who are seeking and begin that discipleship process. So we truly believe that to go far, we must go together. And through partnership, we can accomplish more than what we can do individually. So we do the strategy. We at Kavanaugh Media have the software. I'll show this to you in just a minute. We work with partnership teams all around the world to help find these coalitions. We train up the digital responders. We create and manage the digital ads. And then we do a monthly Taiwan-wide video call with this coalition to discuss questions, outcomes, strategies, results. For those of you willing to be a part of this, then you covenant and commit to respond in a timely manner. This is really important. When somebody's there and they're seeking and they're asking questions, it's a good time to talk to them instead of waiting 2 or 3 days. So a timely response online, maybe it's through a line message or a text message or a phone call, but then you're going to record those interactions within a discipleship CRM that's called Disciple Tools. All this does is keep track of the history of that conversation. So it would start with the ad. You can see what ad they responded to. You can see how the online responder, what things they talked to them about, so that when you talk to them face to face, you already know some of that history there. But what it also does is allow us to see how the Holy Spirit is at work as we begin to see generational growth, and we can map out where in the country God is at work. That's where a tool like Disciple Tools is extremely important. And then making sure that you will meet monthly with us or with a Kavanaugh Media member. We're also asking people to contribute because, believe it or not, these ads do cost money. And truthfully, the more we spend, the more people that will see it. And so we're asking people in this coalition, this follow-up coalition, to contribute financially to the ads that will run in your area. So if you contribute to this, then those funds will be spent for your target audience, for your seeker group that you're trying to reach out to. And then we're going to pay our online responders. And the reason for that is because that's a lot of work. And we really want professionals who are committed to this work. And so as this grows, we will need more digital responders. And so we're asking people to contribute a little bit to that. We really believe if we can spread this out, we can do far more. And then I'm doing everything in my power to talk to large donor groups to see if they can help pay for this as well. I will also tell you this, that we're not trying to do this even though we are a business. This is not a business endeavor for us. This is something that matters. It's personal because we care deeply about Taiwan. And so we're donating so much of this to just try to accomplish this goal. So what do we have to offer? Well, we have a dedicated team. And with over 200 accounts, with all these different mission orgs, truthfully, I do not believe there's any other group out there that has more data and experience right now than what we have. And it's continuing to grow every day. And we want to use that experience and that data to be able to help us accomplish this in Taiwan as well. We have an online system, which is that Disciple Tools. And we have a network of prayer warriors. And we would love for your people to be a part of that as well. So let me give you some examples here of what this looks like. The first part I want to show you is just how the ads part looks. So here is live data straight from Taiwan right now. This ad right up here on uncertainty just finished, actually, just about an hour ago. What we can tell is we can see in these ads, we can see how many people clicked on it to go to a landing page. We can see how many people saw the ad. So this ad right here was running in my old neighborhood in Beitwin, and 18,000 people had access. They saw a portion, something of good news. And I don't know how we could do that physically. I couldn't walk around with my cell phone going, hey, would you like to watch this Christian video, and to reach 18,000 people? But we can see that they did that. And in fact, they didn't just watch, they clicked on it. And at 10 cents a person, we had a lot of people that went on to a website where they could see more. We can see how much of a video that they're watching. So we can see how many people watched 25% of that whole video, or even 50% of it. And it's that kind of numbers that allow us to see who's really interested. So since we've started running some tests, and we've ran about 5 or 6 ads now, we've had 45,000 people watch at least 50% of one of our gospel videos there. We have had 125,000 people just there in Taichung see gospel content, and we've spent $1,100 US to be able to do that. When they see an ad, for example, I'll show you what this one looks like. This has a short little video clip. So it might be around a minute or whatever. It will say TMF because this is the coalition, the sponsor that's bringing all of this together. And there's a call to action to watch more. If they click on that, then it takes them to a website. For this one, it takes them to this website, to connect.tmf.org. And in fact, on here, there's usually a little devotional. There's a place to get a Bible, to watch more videos, to talk to us. But there's also this part, which is coming from technology that we can use with like the Jesus film, which is at the end of a video. If I click on this, when the video ends, then questions show up right there on the screen. And it's just asking them, do they believe this? Do they have questions? Would they like to do something? So, yeah, sure. So they click on that, and then it brings up options for them. Every one of these help us to understand our target audience even better. And this technology, all of what you're seeing right here, is available to us at no charge. This is part of what Jesus Film and crew is providing for us. In fact, they believe in this so much that they have said that they want to help contribute, even to help paying for ads, even if their local teams can't or are not a part of it. They believe in what we're trying to do. This is just to give you an idea then over time. Here's a completely different account that we work with. But here all of a sudden you begin to see that after you've been doing this for a couple of years, all of a sudden on this account, we've had 43 million people who have seen some gospel content. We have spent a fair amount of money. This one's over in the Middle Eastern area. But what we've also seen is 6.8 million people click through. And we have hundreds, probably more like thousands of people who are saved now as a result of that. And so the cost is different. Every country is different when we look at this. But what we do see is that there are people who are seeking, and they're there in Taiwan as well. And believe it or not, they're on their cell phones and on social media a lot. And so if a person sends a message in, then it comes to this software. This software is called Echo Global. This is what our online responders can use so that if a person sends a message online or using Facebook Messenger, or maybe they go to the website and fill out a form there, it all comes into one inbox. And so we're able to collect all of that together. And this is where then our online responders are able to speak to people there and to talk back to them in a good time. Or if they're rude or angry or whatever else, we're able to block their comments too, so that the Facebook page is a safe place for people who are seeking and wanting to know more about Jesus. In fact, we have resources then, so if there's comments or things that are used a lot, we're able to bring those favorites over into it, and then all sorts of questions and resources that you click on one, and it will be in Mandarin, and so you click on that question there, and then you can take bits and pieces of something and bring it right into your comment. So it's a way to scale the response of these online responders, and it's how they can handle so many different comments. So they handle the comments, and then when a person's ready to meet with someone, it gets passed off to you, to that online, to that face-to-face follow-up coalition. All right, so that's a little bit about how it works. And so what are we asking from people? What is the cost? Well, the truth is, the more we spend, the better our chances of getting that gospel content in front of people. But what we're really asking for people to do is to contribute for their area. And so globally, what we usually start with a team is about $400 US a month. That pretty much ensures that we're getting good saturation for the size of the audience. So if you literally are saying we want to run ads for a certain age group in a certain part of the city, well, we can do that. We can really target those ads down to those areas. So the $400 US a month pays for the ads for you, your area, to reach seekers in your place. We can't guarantee it. Remember, it's not a magic bullet. But what I can guarantee you is that we know with extreme confidence of how many people are seeing this content. And we believe that when you sow seed broadly, that the harvest can come from that. We're also asking teams to consider contributing towards that online responder. And we think if we can get enough people being a part of this, then at around 100 US a month, that should be able to pull all that together to be able to provide a good, fair living wage for those online responders. Now, when we look at this, you might think, well, we don't have $500. I just want to challenge you for just a second to think about this, about how much money it's costing to put people on the field, how much money it's costing for us to do these other things just to be there. And though this is not a magic bullet, we do believe 6 months in, 1 year in, there's going to be many people who are being found. And so for us, we believe that this funds goes straight to the ads, and it goes straight to paying for the people who are working right there. It's not coming to me, it's coming to the field. And so we hope that that investment in that will show fruit, and we think that it will. All right. So we're also understanding that there's just questions that come to this. And so there may be questions that you have today, but more importantly, I think there's going to be some questions that you may want to ask later on. And I just want to encourage you to reach out to Nelson at TMF, or to reach out to Alan Messimer with Team Expansion, or you can reach out to us straight on our website on KavanaughMedia.com. There's a few things, though, I do want to kind of answer for you, even if the question's not asked. And here's a few of them. How long do you anticipate before seekers are found? Well, I wish I could say you run 2 ads and then all of a sudden you have hundreds of people, saying, look, there's water, what hindereth me from being baptized, and speaking King James or something, but that's not how it works. What we've seen is that it usually takes, through consistent multiple ads, about 6 months before you really start getting some traction. And so we pray that it goes faster. Sometimes it does. There have been countries where we have, within just a few weeks, even had to turn ads off because there was such a great response. I don't think that's going to happen in Taiwan. I think there's a reason why it's still there and it's still so unreached. And I believe it's going to be hard. So I don't want to make any illusion that this is fast. But we are broadly sowing seed. And then if a person shows any interest, we have systems and people set up to begin to follow up on that. I just don't believe that this abundant gospel sowing will return void when we lift up Christ and his word. That's really important for us as well with our ads. We tend to just use gospel content, stuff straight from the Bible. We just want to take Jesus at his word and lift him up. And so that's a big part of that. Okay. And so how long? We pray for fast things, but we dig in understanding that this is a spiritual war, and we will do whatever it takes to lift Jesus up, to be faithful to what he calls us. As far as security issues, using social media, meeting people, yes, there's always going to be a risk. There are neighbors to Taiwan that are probably looking when things are on social media or whatever. And so it's important for us to not pass on contacts too quickly. And so we engage with them online. We look to see what interest there is. And if they're wanting a Bible, then we're going to get them one. Even in these test ads we've already ran, we've had people, one man that was over 50 years old that used to be in a gang there, who specifically asked, wanting to change his life, saying, I want a Bible. Well, of course we're going to get a Bible to him. And we're going to meet with people face to face. But we try to use technology to minimize the social media channels and these online responders as far as what could be seen by other people. So the people behind the Facebook page and the online responders, their names are not shared. And obviously, those of you doing the follow-up, who are not publishing those on the internet as well. And especially not with any person that is a contact, a seeker in our Disciple Tools software. We're not sharing that with anyone, and it is very securely backed up. If a team wants to use their own Facebook page instead of being a part of this coalition, that's a completely different thing than what we're talking about here. Yes, we work with hundreds of teams doing this, but that is completely different, and we would just need to charge to do that work. This coalition of follow-up people, now that's from one account to many. And so that's what our hope is on that, is to leverage the strength of running that ad from one account to multiple cities. And there's lots of times where people think, I would rather do this ad or whatever. I want to make this as clear as I can. I don't in any way want to give you the idea that we have all of the answers. But I've done tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of ads at this point all around the world. And so there is a strategy behind what we're doing. But it's important for us to listen from you, what you're hearing. And so if you would want to use your own ads, once again, that's kind of like using your own page. We can help you, but that's very different than what we're talking about here of this one-to-many. But in this one-to-many, then we will use consistent ads all around the country on that. And that's what allows us to scale and to do this then at a low cost to be able to do that. All right. So let me wrap this up by maybe sharing with you just what I believe the Great Commission benefits could be. I believe it's going to accelerate and this global Great Commission effort by minimizing the time that you have to spend finding seekers, doing other types of activities, that you're looking at people who are spiritually open. They are reaching out to us. It's completely different than how I did missions when I was there in Taiwan. I would go try to find people that were open. Instead, we broadly seed sow, and they reach out to us. They are telling us that they're interested. It maximizes our capacity. I think it grows our teams, our multiplication. I believe it brings a radical partnership that will make Jesus happy when we work together and not worry about our own individual logos. I think it will focus our workforce in Taiwan in a way that will honor God and bring glory to Him. And I think that that will build movement. And we will hopefully, Lord willing, see movements as we allow people to do what they do best. Speak the language, win people to Christ, disciple them, and build those relationships, both online and offline. The other part of this is that this gives greater visibility to what is happening in the whole country. The more in this coalition we have, the easier it is for us to share the data and for us to see how God's Spirit is at work in the churches and in the mission organizations there throughout Taiwan. So I know that this is ambitious. I know that this may be something that maybe you want to spend some time thinking about. I get that. I understand that. All right. But I also will tell you that I believe with all of my heart that this will work if we are consistent and we just keep grinding away. We will find those who are seeking. And if we don't, then I don't believe we need to hang our head and feel bad. I think we can stand with confidence saying we used every tool, everything we possibly could to work together to make Jesus famous and to find those who desperately need to know Him. So my hope is, if you've watched this whole video now at this point, that you'll reach out. My desire, my prayer is that you all in Taiwan will be doing what we are doing right now with Kavanaugh Media in the 12 largest unreached countries in the world. And there are so many people that are working towards this same goal. And I want it to be 13, not 12. I want Taiwan as a nation to be a part of this global effort that so many different mission organizational people and just groups all around the world are putting their hand together to the plow to do. So I would welcome you to put your hand next to ours and help make Jesus famous there. So thanks for watching the video. Thank you for considering this. Please reach out to Alan or to Nelson, and they will be glad to talk to you and answer any questions you might have. So thank you so much. 我真的感谢你，谢谢你们听到我的 Google Meet presentation. All right.